Gareth Davies, how are we, sir?
I'm very good. 4 fights, Moses Itauma will be champion of the world. We'll discuss it later. I'm very well.
Yeah, you're making waves. You're making waves with your bold predictions for Mr. Moses Itauma. I like it.
Yeah, well, no, I'm very well. Great weekend. Get on the river, up in Ipswich. It's been a great week. I was fascinated by Moses, by Alois Jr., who we saw box for the first time on that card. I've known Josh Taylor a very long time through thin and through thick, and then through thin and through thick again, all the way from the tears from him. He's a really bad loser, and I love that about him. I'm like the very best type of bad loser. Tears at the Olympics when he didn't get gold there. Absolute tartan tornado joy at the Commonwealth Games in 2014. Was with him, interviewing him seconds after he won the gold there. And of course, we'll break that down. It's been a week of just news in boxing. I've been following the news and following the events, doing our shows, doing talkSPORT show, staying on top of things, maybe going paddleboarding with Fran Hennessy for a feature, invited to dinner with Michael Watson. That's pretty much my week. But I had a little bit of a focus, which I wouldn't mind talking about today because it's not that far away. But that massive women's card now in New York on July the 11th, which for me, or July the 11th, July the 12th, July the 11th, has got very, very big with all those female fighters on it. But just been really reading and assimilating things this week. What about you? How's your week been?
Yeah, no, week's been good. Obviously went to Glasgow, the Hydro Arena, which
First time.
honestly is one of the best. Yeah, fantastic time. Honestly, it was up there with the talkSPORT crew. It was a shame that you weren't there. Myself, Romario, Ed Huntley, Spence Oliver, John Rawlin all went out to dinner, which was nice. And then obviously did the weigh-ins and then fight night. And I wasn't sure how many were going to be in there, because in and around the city, I think there was a couple of concerts. I think Edinburgh, was it Aberdeen were playing Celtic in a Scottish Cup final. So I was like, okay, how much focus was going to be on the boxing? It was packed.
Always.
Honestly, it was packed.
Always.
Yeah. They don't get that much up there, unfortunately. It was Ricky Burns who passed the torch to Josh Taylor. And because Josh has been so inactive, there hasn't been Josh passing it to someone else to really sell the tickets up there. Nathaniel Collins could be that guy, who knows? But yeah, it was nice to be up there. It was a really, really good event. Some young stars coming through, which is nice. You see that next version sort of stars that are going to sort of do good things. And I think we saw maybe 2, maybe 3 on the card. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, Glasgow is one of those places. Glasgow is one of those places where you could take an Audley Harrison there. You could take an Amir Khan there. You could take a big name there, and people would come and watch the boxing. Obviously, Ricky Burns fought Terence Crawford there at lightweight all those years ago. I was up for all of those. I mean, I've been to Glasgow many, many times in my career, but probably 20, 30 times. And as you say, former three-weight world champion Ricky Burns fought there fairly often. Josh that was his 11th time fighting in Scotland. So he's been there a lot. But like you say, it's one of those, what was there, 8,000, 9,000 in there?
Yeah. And as you know, someone that's been there a lot, there isn't a bad seat in the house. Sometimes in these kind of, it's a bowl shape, isn't it? So every seat you get, you've got a real good vantage point of the ring. You're not too high, you're not too low. Yeah, and a balcony. Yeah, really, honestly, really, really good. Before we sort of do a deep dive into it, I know you've probably had your chances to mention it on sort of Fight Night with Adam Catchful, but the passing of young Georgia O'Connor.
Well, I didn't know her 25-year-old, but I really felt the outpouring last week. Very well mentioned. I didn't know her that well. Terrible story, frankly.
Honestly,
without delving into the agony for her family. It really does.
It's just honestly, it's just sad, isn't it? I mean, 25,
cancer.
cancer, just a really good amateur,
Yeah.
sort of Commonwealth Games youth gold and bronze medalist, I believe. Just turned pro, was 3-0. So just kicking on with her life. Not just her boxing life, but at 25, her life as an adult, got married, and then this happened. And as you say, the outpouring. This is one thing that I love about the boxing community: the outpouring of emotion when something does go bad to one of our own, if you like. It's fantastic, and I think there's a GoFundMe page to help with the funeral and stuff. But yeah, it's sad. Obviously, had to mention at the top. It's never easy to transition from that to what we're going to talk about, but I felt like it was important that we
No,
mentioned.
here, I agree with that. I'm glad you did, because it highlights, like you say, how extraordinarily tight knit the community can be when something like this happens. And you saw a lot of emotion from a lot of people last week, and some wonderful words about someone who was a bright spark in life. And a lot of people with a lot of memories, and yeah, well said. And I completely concur with you, Eddie.
All right, let's pivot to Josh Taylor, who lost on record his third fight in a row. Some will say his fourth. I think we probably are in agreement. It's probably his fourth fight in a row. This was, again, on paper, a step down, at least in level, from Jack Catterall and Teofimo Lopez. Ekow Essuman's a fantastic guy, great fighter. But I think most would say Ekow Essuman is European level, where the other two were definitely world level fights.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. You're right. In his next fight, he could really cause an upset. He could do some damage. But going into the fight, definitely sort of a top British, fringe European level guy. Josh moving up in weight. I thought he looked really good on the scales. When I saw him, I was like, wow, you look really good, really healthy. Skin was glowing. Normally he's quite pale when he's tight at the weight. I thought he looked really good. And on the night, Gareth, I'll let you sum up more deeply, but on the night, for me, it almost looked like his engine ran out sort of after 4 or 5 rounds. It just dived completely. And it's funny because he's fighting someone who was nicknamed the Engine, who clearly had like a V6 D8 engine, and one had like a 1 liter Ford Fiesta. It just stopped.
Well, Ford Fiesta a little bit cruel because it was a little bit quicker than that. But maybe it was a Capri versus a Ford Fiesta.
Okay,
a little bit. But I agree with you. I think Josh Taylor I had Josh Taylor 5 rounds to 1 up after 6 rounds, and he was doing his work, and he was. His lateral movement was clever. He was finding the angles. He was outpointing Ekow Essuman. I mean, there's a couple of swing rounds there that were close as well. Some people scored it by 8 rounds to 4 to Ekow Essuman, but I had it 7-5. I thought he ran away with the last 6 rounds, even though Josh, I agree with you, his tank ran out. I think Spencer picked up on commentary. He thought he heard Josh Taylor after 8 rounds. I'm not sure whether this has been verified, saying after 8 rounds, I've not got much left. He might have said he's not got much left, but that's not Josh's want to say that kind of thing. But Essuman was consistent all the way through, and Josh began to fatigue. But also, his punches at welterweight weren't carrying the measure of deep hurt and spite and respect that they do at light welter. I agree with you. He looked fuller in the face and healthier. And that was good to see, because his face can look skeletal when he makes 10 stone. And he is 33 years old. So, I mean, 34. So making that weight at that age. Josh, if you recall the way he fights people, I mean, I know I've got his record up here. I know that from 2018 to 2022, he largely defeated people on points, but he outboxed them and he outfought them. He tried that against Ekow, but he could not get a dent in Essuman. He couldn't put a dent in him physically with his best punches. And that right hand came down through the middle again and again and again, until the optics were that Josh's head was being smacked back by that right hand. And then Ekow physically, for me, look, if Josh had come out and won the last 2 rounds, I'd have had it a draw, but it wasn't there in him. Oh, sorry, if he'd won the last round, I'd have had it a draw. Apologies, because I had Ekow 1 round up going into the last round. But if, as I say, I've known Josh a long time. He is one of the greats of British boxing, post-war greats. That run from 2018 to 2022, when he had opponents whose record was like 130-1, from Victor Postol, Ivan Baranchik, Apin Song, Ramirez, Regis Prograis. Those 5 fights were extraordinary, and he just took everyone apart. Some of them were at the Hydra, of course, and that was the period in which he was undisputed, the first 4-belt champion from these shores in the modern era. And also at the same time, he was, I think, number 5 with the Ring Magazine rankings in the pound-for-pound list. He was our best pound-for-pound boxer at that time in the world. So we mustn't forget that. 2-weight world champion, I think he's going to struggle with. My feeling, I'm going to try and be honest without being unkind. I think I've seen his comments afterwards. I know he walked out of the arena, didn't want to do an interview because he didn't want to say the wrong thing because he's a bad loser and he thought he'd won. Didn't want to make a fool of himself. But I think his days, but let me put it this way, Josh Taylor's days are numbered for me in the ring. They're very, very numbered. There may be one more, but there may not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with all of that. Fantastic run, as you say, from 2018 to that Ramirez fight to become undisputed.
In Vegas in lockdown as well, which is a shame for him, you know?
Yeah. Victor Postal was the only one on that resume of runs that you just said that had a defeat, and that defeat was to Terence Crawford. So he fought all the top guys that were all unbeaten at the time, all world champions. He had to go and collect belts one by one as opposed to beating one person and becoming undisputed. And then, I mean, look, you know him way more than I do. I've interviewed Josh only a couple of times. I've been only to 2 of his fights. I don't know him personally. I said to someone the other day that I think talent for talent, he's better than the guys he's losing to. I'd even put Teofimo Lopez in that. Like it's not a skill thing. I don't know if, and this is again maybe controversial. I don't know how he's living the life in between fights, but I look at him and I think you're better than those guys. I can see it. I can watch you and see it. He's had a couple of hard fights, but he's not in punishing fights. He's not in brutal fights. He's not being knocked down and hurt and beaten up. So he must walk away scratching his head. Like if he stayed in the ring, I would have asked him about retirement, but he would have probably thought, I'm not getting blasted out by these guys, Ade. So I don't know if it's a thing in the gym. I don't know if it's a thing in between camps. He's had 1 fight a year for 5 years. There's been an eye injury, so I'll give him
and
that.
1
fight a year for 5 years.
A foot injury as well.
Yes, but he's not had 60 fights. Like you said, you've got his record up. Is it 23 fights?
Yeah.
Something like that?
A very long amateur record, remember. I've lost it again. He had a very long amateur record, remember. So, turned pro at 24 because he wanted that Commonwealth Games thing.
So he's now 34. So in 10 years, 23 fights, something like that?
Yeah, 23 fights.
I just don't know. I don't know.
22,
I don't know. My thing with him's been
22 fights.
Yes. 22 fights. My thing with him's been activity. Again, 1 fight a year for the last 5 years is you can't be your best as an athlete doing that.
Apart from
again, I'm not a boxer.
But apart from Appin and Kong Song, in who he stopped in a round with a body shot again, left hook to the body, that was in lockdown.
He stopped Ryan Martin early.
He stopped Ryan Martin after 7. Yeah, but apart from those 2, is what I was going to say.
Yeah,
he's been 12 rounds so Victor Postol was 12 rounds. Ryan Martin and Appin and Konsong was 1 round, but all his other fights have gone 12 rounds since 2018. So he's not a knockout merchant. I think, and what I'm coming to here with it is, I think he's been to the well. You know, I think he's been to the well enough times it's not there anymore, and I think the game's moved on. I think he should have moved up to welterweight maybe 2 years ago. I mean, I was there at the Teofimo Lopez fight in 2023, June of 2023, and I think he should have moved up straight away after that. I mean, I remember speaking to him afterwards back at the hotel that night, and he said, I was just dead at the weight after 4 rounds. And that's 2 years ago. So,
Yeah.
Look, I mean...
Yeah. Do you think he calls it?
Yeah.
Do you think he's...
Well, the thing is, if you look at that welterweight division, it's so stacked now, he might fancy one more. And the fight I was thinking for him, we might have even mentioned it on the show last week, or it was certainly on one of the talkSPORT shows that I was on last week. I was saying, take Conor Benn to Scotland to a stadium to fight Josh Taylor. I mean, that's enormous.
Conor Benn's not going to fight Josh.
No, not now. After that,
what does Conor Ben have to get out? Oh, I mean, if he won,
I was saying that's what I was saying before the fight. Okay. And you could imagine an appetite for Conor Benn going north of the border, playing the villain, being all emotional, Hank rising, the alter ego of Josh Taylor rising, and it being a big event. But I don't. Josh Taylor is not going to fight for a world title now against Brian Norman, Mario Barrios, or Jaron Ennis, who are the 3 world champions. The Terence Crawford fight, which was what we used to talk about with him years ago, by the way, a fight with Terence Crawford at welterweight, that'll never happen.
Nope.
Conor Benn, I mean, you've got people in those ranking bodies now, in the sanctioning bodies, like Lewis Crocker and Paddy Donovan, high up in the rankings, and you wouldn't want to put him in with one of those guys. Ekow Essuman was highly ranked 5 with the WBO, and he's going to chase a world title now. He probably deserves, and we mustn't not mention him at all. But there aren't a lot of avenues for him to go down. I talking as someone who's a friend of Josh Taylor, I think it's time to call it.
Yeah. All right. You mentioned Ekow Essuman. Let's quickly give him some flowers as well. A man that's done it the hard way, fought a lot on the road. Just the one defeat, that was the Harry Scarf. But apart from that, it's an unblemished record. Just a tough man. And physically, he looks like he's 26. Incredibly. I mean, look at his physique. He's actually 36, but clearly lives the life. Looks in impeccable condition. Again, nicknamed the Engine, and we could see it because after round 6, I mean, this guy just kept on going through the gears and just wouldn't leave Josh alone. Let's quickly hear from him after the fight. Spencer Oliver spoke to him in the ring.
I know he doesn't like body shots, so I set about him slowly because I knew he was going to come out hard and fast because he's coming up to the weight. He's not used to the weight. He's not been campaigning at it for a long time. Later on in the rounds, his oxygen debt will get to him. He'll slow down. And that's when I knew, body shots and uppercuts.
Listen, you're very much becoming the Cinderella man of boxing now, 36 years of age. People say, is he British, Commonwealth sort of level, fringe European? Now we're talking world level now. There's a big opportunity in the twilight of your career.
I said it from ages ago. I'm aiming for world titles. I didn't say it just to say it. I'm not here just to make a number. I'm here to take over.
There you go. It's very simple what he wants. Whether or not his team can deliver, I don't know. He wants a world title crack. I guess boxing doesn't work like this, but all the things that were, earmarked for Josh, if Josh won, surely it should apply to Ekow, right? Everyone was talking about a world title for Josh, a Conor Benn fight for Josh. I know you're smiling, and you're right. It doesn't apply. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. But surely those things should be applied to Ekow now.
Well, no. Josh Taylor's a British great. Ekow Essuman is proving, as we said earlier on, is he world level or not? He's lost to Harry Scarf. He is... you said it right. He's proving himself. He's been a pro for 9 years. He's come late to the sport. and he wasn't meant to win. He wasn't in this matchup to win. He was meant to be a test for Josh Taylor at welterweight, and he's proven that. What he's proven is that the old soldier doesn't have it in him to be on the front line anymore, and I think Ekow Essuman deserves a world title shot if they can get him one. I don't think he's a big ticket seller either. So drawing him to his hometown, he may have to go to Brian Norman. The WBO champion is a top-ranked fighter, so he may have to go to Vegas to have that fight. So we'll have a smattering of fans there. We'll all stay up in the night and watch it all go. And again, he will be seen as an overachiever if he wins a world title fight, and I don't mean that in the rude sense of being disrespectful. But he will have. No one was expecting Ekow Essuman to be a world champion 3-4 fights ago.
Yeah, no, it'll be an incredible story if he were to end his career, even just a world title shot, let alone becoming a champion, just to get the world title crack. I mean, he would love to go to Vegas and fight one of the names. But we'll see how it plays out for him in the next 12 to 18 months. All right, you're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Next up, though, we'll discuss what the future holds for Moses Itauma, who stole the show once again on Saturday night. Welcome back. You're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Adi Oladipo, Gareth A. Davies. All right, let's look at the rest of the undercard from Saturday. We've unpacked Josh Taylor. 3 really good fights on the undercard as well, or at least intriguing fights going into them. Alois Jr. Took on David Jemison. That was for the Cruiserweight Commonwealth title. You had Nathaniel Collins beating Lee McGregor for the WBC Silver Featherweight title. But the man that we're going to focus on right now is someone that Gareth has already crowned as the future of the heavyweight division, and that is young Moses Itauma, just 20 years old, who detonated Mike Balogun, who looked, to be fair and give credit to Mike, kept getting up. He kept getting up, wanting a bit more, but in the end, Moses kept putting him down. Special kid here, Gareth, is a special kid.
Yeah, and this week, without one of the betting agents who I work for, I'm ambassador for, William Hill, said, "Can you please map out his route to the world title?" And I'll do it. Now, and he Balogun was a step back from Dempsey McKean, and I'm not having a go at the Warrens there for the matchmaking, because he kind of revealed it in the week at the press conference, but he was being lined up to fight Justice Hooney, and Justice Hooney's fighting Fabio Wardley, obviously at Portman Road in Ipswich on June the 7th. I think I've got my dates right this morning. I'm looking forward to that.
It is June the 7th. You're correct.
That as well, on a card in which Gillian White is on as well, of course. And that will lead into our Parker chat a little bit later on, because we need to see what's happening with Joseph Parker. But Moses Itauma, later this summer, in my view, will beat Martin Bakole and Filip Hrgović. He'll go into next year and he'll stop Joseph Parker. If Daniel Dubois has beaten Alexander Usyk twice, late in the summer next year, Moses Itauma will knock out Daniel Dubois and will be the undisputed champion in about 14, 15 months from now.
You're crazy.
That is
so wait. Let me hear this right. He's going to beat Filip Hrgović, Martin Bakole, Joseph Parker, and Daniel Dubois back to back.
That is doable.
No.
Well, who did you lose?
You know what it is. You again.
I'm playing.
I know you're playing, but I always defer to you with these things because you've seen millions of prospects come up. Maybe not look as good as Moses, but millions come up and look really good, and then they go up just a level, and then we see them come unstuck.
They lose one. Yeah.
Yes. Are we not jumping too many hoops here with because I love Moses. I think I spoke to his dad. His dad was ringside on Saturday. We had a little conversation about taking him to Nigeria and stuff. I love him, but haven't we got to be a bit careful?
Is his dad Yoruba or Hausa?
Hausa.
He's Hausa, and that interested me because you'll know, because of the Nigerian tribes, the Hausa is the more thicker set, more dense physicality,
big,
stronger. And
they're not even muscle bound. It's just strong.
Yeah, strong. Yeah. Anyway, we're delving into Nigerian cultural heritage there, but which I love doing, by the way, because bone structure and tribe and all those things count. Like I found out last week that Moses' first language is Slovakian, you know? and it's his first language.
Crazy.
That's why he's always going, yeah. You bring him in. You hype me up. I'll knock him out. That's not a very good impersonation of Moses. But
No, that wasn't as good as ones you did off camera a few minutes earlier. No, that wasn't as good.
He has it in him. When I went to sit with him at the iBox gym in South Croydon in the first 2 weeks of January with Francis Warren, and I remember distinctly Francis saying, honestly, we and he would say this because he's his manager and Frank Warren's his promoter and George and Frank Warren are his promoter. And he said, honestly, we feel we've got a Lionel Messi, Michael Jordan.
They even said Roger
Federer, Roger Federer.
See, this is getting ridiculous, isn't it?
But no, it's not though, because Mike Balogun was a game opponent to keep Moses treading water. But what we did learn from Moses was...
Do you like tennis?
I do like tennis. I do. It's a good thing.
Would they have said this about Roger Federer if he'd beaten the world number 110? Would they have said Roger Federer is going to be the next Pete Sampras?
No.
If Roger Federer had dispatched the world number 110.
No, they wouldn't.
Exactly. They only said this about Roger Federer when Roger Federer beat Pete Sampras.
But boxing is about hype and promotion as well. You need it. Without the hype and promotion, we don't have a league going on. They've got their tour. It's a bit like, I've always had this analogy that it's an utter disgrace to the sport if Fury and Joshua and Wilder do not meet in this era. That's like seeing Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic not. I want to swear here. Just like Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic not playing each other in this era. It's an anomaly. It's a disgrace because. But they will.
What does that have to do with Moses?
No, I'm just saying the way you asked about the setup of tennis, and I'm just replying to the differences. In 4 fights, Moses could be the undisputed heavyweight champion. He probably won't be because it could be more likely in 8 fights. But the big problem they've got with him, once he fights a top 10 guy, there's no coming back. There's no coming back, and that's the problem. And as I said, when I interviewed Francis early in the year, and I did do a proper sit down with Moses, and it was a big piece in the Telegraph about his future. He said, I'm not going to predict what I'm going to do. All I'm going to do is show you every time I step in there. I think, Mike Tyson, he's gone past the age that Mike Tyson was as the youngest heavyweight champion in the world, 20 and whatever many days it was. Floyd Patterson, Muhammad Ali are the next two. And he'll be probably within that bandwidth. Muhammad Ali was 22 and something in a couple of months, I think. He'll probably be world champion before Muhammad Ali was world champion. We are definitely looking at a special talent. I know I'm blathering on. I'll finish it. I'll curve it. I think if they manage the next 5 or 6 fights correctly, and he doesn't get beaten, which could happen, he becomes undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
All right, let's hear from the future undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. He spoke to Spencer Oliver after his fight. He even mentioned Martin Bakole.
Bro, listen, like I said, I know that this was his chance to get into the big leagues. So although you lot thought that I was going to knock him out in like 1 or 2 rounds, I knew that whatever I hit him with, he's going to keep getting up. And that's what he did. But luckily, I was able to hit him with a shot that he couldn't get up from.
Listen, he showed a lot of heart in there because that first knockdown, he could have gone down and stayed down. He got up and he come back again. This is a guy with only 1 defeat on his record. What I'm going to ask you is, at what level do we need to go to before you get them rounds? Dempsey McKean, then him.
Bro, I have no idea. It's not to me to decide, it's to my team.
I know it's not for you to decide. What I'm saying is, no, I'm not getting no headline, mate. I'm telling you the harsh facts and truths. Like, you're going to a really good level and getting rid of these guys. What I'm saying, the hype, there's some truth behind the hype.
I mean, thank you. But all these compliments, I can't take it in. It's going to do me no favours. Like I said, I'm going to keep doing my job and try knocking people out, and you lot can keep doing your job and hyping me up.
Moses Itauma there. I don't know, he's got a way of speaking, which is, he pulls you in. Doesn't say much, but when he does talk, it's very matter of fact. Says he's open to fighting Martin Bakole, which could be a good fight. Martin Bakole was ringside, looked menacing in his dark shades. Look, I'm super excited about him. Okay, can we play another quick game in terms of what next? I put out a name. I don't know if you've seen my tweets. I don't know if you follow my tweets, Gareth, but I put out a name and I said Jermaine Franklin, because they want to put him on the July card, July 19th, Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's someone that we've seen go the distance with AJ. Some say beat Dillian White. He's only lost twice. He's a massive step up from Mike Balogan and Dempsey McKean.
And potentially, yeah. Given his performances, I don't know how active. I think Jermaine has been a little bit active. Nice bloke as well. Enjoyed meeting him when he was over.
Yeah. But what would you like to see him do next? Hogovic, is that what you want?
I think Moses is too good for someone like that, and I think what you'll see is fantastic footwork, great punch selection, and he'll stop the guy, and he'll stop him in 7 or 8 rounds. I think he might be a little bit more durable, but I don't. Yes, he's got to learn. That's what you're saying. He's got to learn. He can't learn against top 10 opponents. He's in the deep end. But what we saw, my views on him aren't just based on what we've seen in the ring in the last 2 years. It's what people say about him in sparring. It's what people say about how good he is when he steps in with all these other sparring partners. It's the fact that at 15, he was undoing his school tie and taking his shirt off to step in the ring 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago with Joe Joyce, because there was an opportunity to spar with Joe Joyce. It's what everybody says about him internally in our sport, about what he produces when he's in the gym and his nervelessness. And he's too young to have nerves, almost, in my view, because he's not shocked by his own success. And that psychological factor that he brings, I think, is enormous. I just think it's enormous. He may lose 2 on the way and then come back and do it at 26. That's possible as well. And I would insert that caveat. But right now, like you say, the big thing is how he's handled and matched and promoted. That's the key.
Yeah, and to be fair, he's got a group of Francis, George, and Frank that know how to match, and Frank have matched everyone near perfect in the last decade or so.
Well, you mentioned 3: Ricky Hatton, Nassim Hamid, and Joe Calzaghe. They've got one of those on their hands here, but he's a heavyweight. So
yeah, what I like what they did do, and we'll move on to Alois after this. But what I like what they did do was taking him around very much early AJ, where everyone got to see a bit of AJ in Leeds, in Scotland. AJ went to Manchester, and then they finally found AJ the home at the O2 Arena. So almost like that, Moses has kind of done a bit of a tour of the UK in recent years, and now it's a case of finding that home. Like, where's his big fan base going to be? And I think him being from Kent, obviously the closest will be the O2 Arena.
Yeah, and I'd put him on. I'd have put him on the Portman Road card as well. They can disagree with that. Put him on the Portman Road card. Then he's got 6 weeks to the Wembley cards. I'd put him on all of them. I'd be getting him out all the time. I'd be getting him out.
Yeah, agreed. You're right. I mean, he only went a round and a half. I mean, he's good to go again now. Like, he probably hit the pads when he went back to the changing room.
Did he get caught?
That's how good to go.
Did he get caught at all? Do you remember him taking a punch?
No. Nope. Nothing.
Remember him getting caught by Dempsey McKean?
Nope. Nothing.
So the big thing is we need to see him get caught and how he reacts.
Yeah, we need to see him on the rope. Does he have a chin?
Exactly. And
yeah. Can we see him take one? If he can take one, then all bets are off. Alois Jr., his stablemate, fought on that card as well. That's a great stable that Ben Davison's got, by the way. Fabio Wardley, Alois Jr., Lee
Anthony
Wood,
Joshua.
Moses Itauma. Pat McCormack, AJ. Bloody hell, it's an incredible fight stable. But Alois Jr. beat David Jameson, stopped him. I think it was round 2 or round 3. He looked composed, massively built, but a great boxer. We look at him as just because he's so heavily built that he's just going to be a brawler, but he's not. He's actually a very good boxer who likes to set his shots up. And he wants everyone in the cruiserweight division. He's calling out Vidal Riley. He's calling out Isaac Chambers. He's calling out everybody.
Yeah, we saw him box, I think, for the first time. We saw his jab very effective. We saw him, his posture was brilliant. He wasn't looking for that big overhand right and pushing someone onto the ropes and destroying them with hooks. Jamison, proud Scottish man, David Jamison, had no answer to him, and it was a terrific performance by Alois, who, for me, again, he's someone that could be brought through a little quicker now.
What is he? He's only 21.
Yeah, he is 22.
I think 21. Babies in that camp. He's got loads of babies in the camp.
Yeah. But it's a young man's sport. There's no one in the for me, Vidal Riley is there. That's his chance to start to get into the world sanctioning body rankings. I mean, you got Vidal Riley at 15 with 2 of the sanctioning bodies. And Vidal looked fantastic, didn't he, against Chev Clark at
That's the fight for me for Alois next. Chev Clark.
Wow. That's a bit.
I think
Chev Clark. A very exciting fight.
Chev Clark's the one, because Chev Clark will come to fight. It'll be do or die for Chev. Chev's obviously 34, I believe. So it'll be a case of, does Chev still have it? Didn't look great in his last fight, but I think Chev deserves another opportunity. I think that's a good step.
He was outboxed by Vidal in the last fight. I mean, Vidal was point perfect in that huge event at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Richard Riakpor's gone from cruiserweight now, hasn't he?
Yeah. Richard Riakpor fought as a heavyweight on the Saudi card.
He's staying at heavyweight. Yeah.
Yeah, he's massive now. Yeah, Richard Riakpor is massive. They honestly look like it's like someone just sort of blew him up. Like, he just looked enormous. Yeah. So he's definitely staying. There's Isaac Chamberlain. There's Jack Massey. There's some good names at that. Mikhail Lawal still around. Yeah. There's some good names for Alois Jr. to fight.
I agree, and I like him. And again, what he's got is that kind of cloud behind him, almost like a cartoon character that he's punching holes in walls. You could make a cartoon character out of him that he doesn't walk through doors. He just punches holes in walls to enter a building. That's his superpower. Is heavy hands, knockout power in his hands, and that may well take him to world level quicker than we think. And also, if he just brings his boxing more. When people look at him, they know he can punch, so they're going to stand off him. I think Chev Clark is a great call. It may not appeal to Chev Clark, but it could be a way of getting Chev back into the mix as well. That if he proves that he can handle Alois, he's back up there as well.
Yeah, so many good fights that we're matchmaking here on Fight Night Extra. So feel free to send us our promotional agreement money as well. All right, listen to Fight Night Extra on talkSPORT 2. Next up, we're going to round off the rest of the news from the boxing world. Welcome back. You're listening to Fight Night Extra on talkSPORT 2. Adi Oladipo, Gareth A. Davies. All right, more from Mr. Tyson Fury. I feel like every week Tyson Fury gives us a little snippet as to what he's doing, what he's going to do, what he plans to do. This week, he was in Lake Como, I believe, watching a bit of 50 Cent on a private yacht alongside Derek Chisora, which was just an incredible image, if I'm honest with you. But one thing Tyson Fury did do prior to going out that night was post a video basically saying, why should I return? I've done it all. I want to stay retired. And, listening to that, Gareth, I mean, look, me and you were talking last week and we said, look, it looks like he's going to come back and maybe October. That was the first time watching that video. I was like, he might not come back. That's what I took from it. I was like, well, he might have just decided enough's enough.
We flushed him out last week, right? We flushed him out to play the game again. All the signs, talking to people behind the scenes, was that he running up the hill, looking in shape, talk of sparring behind the scenes, hitting the bag. Yes, he's toying with us and playing with us. Big John Fury saying he wants in on the camp and wants to be in the corner, giving his reasons why he should be in the corner and why Sugar Hill Stewart isn't the best for Tyson Fury. That's the father talking, obviously, and wanting to be involved. I've said this a couple of times now, we've all been on a holiday and gone, do you know what? This is amazing. I'm with my loved one. I just never want to go home again. I just don't want to go. I don't want to go back to work. And that was that moment. And then there he is on, like say, actually a bit starstruck with Fiddy. And I've met Fiddy before because he used to come to Bellator events. He's a great character, loves his fight stuff, can tangle a little bit as well. Fiddy's a great physicality about him. And I enjoyed Derek, and I saw a clip of Tyson literally going face to face into 50 Cent and going, wow, I'm going to have a selfie with you. So I think it looked like he had an amazing time with Paris out there. I see he met a famous builder who's got his own building channel or something, who kind of acted like the mad dog around them and really enjoyed their coming. They looked like they were really enjoying a break away. But for me, if he never fights again, no issue. But there's business to close in the era and the division, and that business is with Anthony Joshua. So stop teasing us, enjoy your break. Come back at me if you want to, but complete the era, because it doesn't need world title belts. Even behind the scenes, they were talking about a third fight with Alexander Usyk, by the way, for Tyson Fury. Yeah. It's not dead in the water. Tyson loves playing with us, and that's what's happening there, in my view.
I think you summed it up perfectly. And I think anyone that's been on holiday would always kind of align with what you said there, where you're just on holiday and you're like, I'm never coming back. Like, why do I want to come back? And then you eventually come back, and then you realize why you come back. So I'm with you. I think it's going to get back to more.
You're there with the babe, and you're on the beach, and you've just had a lovely day. You're about to go and have a drink and a meal, and it's paradise. And you go, should we just stay? You've been there.
I actually stayed.
Exactly.
I actually decided to stay a couple of times. That's the problem.
Barbados.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Barbados.
And then the money ran out, and I had to come back. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. No, I'm not joking. That's exactly what happened. Like, exactly what happened in Nigeria and Cuba. All right, let's move on to Joseph Parker, who seems to be out in the wilderness. He's taken to do what Joseph Parker does, which is fantastic. He done a little video, Murder on the Dance Floor, calling out the winner of Usyk versus Dubois. What does Joseph Parker do? I feel like he's almost been the forgotten one. Yeah, he's on a fantastic run, arguably the third best heavyweight in the world. I mean, does he have an interim fight? I mean, we've mentioned Dillian Whyte as a possible opponent, which I think makes sense if Dillian looks okay in this return bout at Portman Road. Caballero's out there, which will be third versus fourth. I mean, I like the call out, but I don't like the idea of waiting for the winner of Usyk Dubois, because it means then that he's actually sitting it out for another 5 or 6 months at least. Like, surely there has to be an interim fight. Like, surely he has to be chief support on the Usyk Dubois card. Like, surely.
That's too late now. When you think that...
What, July 19th?
No, it's too late.
What's that, 6 weeks?
No, it's not. No, I think what's going to happen, even though Dillian Whyte's opponent for Portman Road, the fight we're talking about, headlined by Fabio Wardley and Justice Hooney, which is a top 5 WBO event for both men, I think it's a TBA still, which is very late, so they haven't got the Dillian Whyte opponent yet. For what is it, 2 weeks away, which is a bit of a weird one. I'm sure they're going to announce the opponent this week, but they want to keep Dillian Whyte alive because my understanding is And I agree with you. Ideally, Joseph Parker on that undercard on July the 19th at Wembley would have been good. He is a feature of British boxing. But I think he's going to have an eye on what Dillian Whyte does at Portman Road, and I think they'll fight late in the summer at like an O2 Arena or something. He's a big favourite second time around. Obviously, he lost the first fight, which was way back now in, God, it was a long time ago. It was 2018, 7 years ago. How fortunes have changed, and Dillian is a much older fighter. So I think that's what they'll wait for. That's what my understanding is. That's what they're looking to plan in the background. I think Parker's a big favourite in that. And, then he looks at where he can get in the mix to fight for the world title.
Okay. Moving away from the heavyweights, let's go down to the light heavyweight division, which is buzzing at the moment. One big man that's jumped into the division and caused a bit of a splash is David Benavidez. He wants a big one next, obviously coming off that really good win against David Morrell at the start of the year. It feels like a lot longer than that, but it was in January. He now has called out two Brits. He either wants Callum Smith next or Anthony Yarde. There has been a lot of talk about Callum Smith versus Anthony Yarde, but he says he wants either of those guys next. For Yarde, it means another world title crack. This will be his third. For Callum Smith, it will be his second out of the 175-pound division. Obviously, he tried to take on Artur Beterbiev and got stopped. If it's a pick between Callum Smith or Yarde, it has to be Callum Smith.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, Callum Smith's coming off a fantastic victory over Joshua Buatsi, and that's a big fight. And Benavidez WBC at the moment, isn't he? And
yeah, he's been elevated. Yeah.
Yarde is 5, and the problem is that I don't think Smith is in the rankings at the moment. So, but not that can't change. So I really like that fight. Of course he's not, because he's WBO interim at the moment. So I like the fight. I think Callum Smith and Benavidez is a great fight. And I think it elevates Callum into that elite class again, as he was at super middleweight. So I think that's the route they'll probably go. Even though you're going to get 9,000. We talked about how great the fans are at the moment. Even though you're going to get 9,000 in Liverpool for the fight with Yarde and Smith, because the Smith family hugely followed in Liverpool.
Yeah, I just think it now opens the door. If it is Benavidez versus Smith, and who knows, right? If they offer Smith the right amount of money, we know Smith will travel. But if it is that, I think it opens the door to finally... Yeah. And yes, it's lost a bit of a step now, but finally to give us Yarde versus Buatsi.
There you go.
Because
perfect.
What does Yarde do? What does Buatsi do? It kind of makes perfect sense for that one. Although, again, it's not... I don't think it's the O2 Arena big sellout it once was, but it's still a big fight. I think we can still get behind it. I think it still does good numbers. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully that happens as well. So hopefully we have some sort of resolution as to what happens after Beterbiev Bivol 3. Who knows, right?
That fight is starting to get, without being crude or raw against either Buatsi or Yarde, that's starting to get beyond its best sell-by date.
Agreed. No, you're right. And I don't think that's being rude or crude. I think you're right. We've been asking for it for years. And it isn't the magnitude of AJ Fury whereby, it can happen anytime. Like, people will start to get bored of it. And there was a time when it was right there and you got to strike while the iron's hot. And now one's coming off a defeat and one's coming off a lackluster performance. So it has lost a little bit of step. That's just a fact, I think. It is a shame. You've been listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Big thanks to Gareth for joining me today. Remember, if you've missed any of this show, you can listen to it as a podcast. Find it under the Fight Night banner on the talkSPORT app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from. We will be back, as always, next week.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.